Looking for something out of the ordinary? Look no farther than the Shreveport Waterworks Museum. Yes, it's a history of the water for the city of Shreveport. There's going to be a project in this video. Count the water bottles. Hope you enjoy this. I think this is going to be kind of a fun treasure hunt. Back to the video. This place is incredible. Wait till we walk around and you see all these machines functioning as they once did to supply water to the growing, thriving city of Shreveport, Louisiana. Travel across America with me. At this historic site, known as the McNeil Street Pump Station, it was built in 1887 as the city's first waterworks. It contains the original equipment in working order. This is the only example of its sort remaining in the United States of America. You've got to go there. Find your way to 142 North Common Street and enter the McNeil Street Water Purification and Pumping Station. Here's the museum entrance. The McNeil Street Station is home of Shreveport Waterworks Museum and has the very rare honor of being both a National Historic Landmark and a National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark. Opened in 1887 as the city's first water plant, it added filtration in 1890 and unusual technology at the time, and in 1911 was among the earliest facilities in the nation to use chlorine in the treatment process. The plant's classic steam pumps were not finally retired until 1980. Today, the entire physical plant, pumps, filters, and other machinery remains in place after more than 100 years of service and is a rare example of intact steam waterworks. You can take a self-guided tour or one of the friendly staff will take you around, whichever you prefer. And there is a cell phone tour. The first area that you will enter is the machine shop, which played an important role in maintaining the equipment as it aged and the availability of manufacturer's support faded. As you see it today, this machine shop is frozen in time to 1911. As you pass through the machine shop, you will go into another area where you will meet one of the friendly volunteer staff members. And there's also an example of the water filtration system. So neat, so intriguing. We pass through the boiler room and by the boilers and all the equipment. This room was part of the original 1887 building, and this boiler replaced the original boiler in 1917. There are so many fascinating items that you will pass as you walk through this facility, like this little alarm whistle. This little steam whistle was mounted on the front of the boiler along with two others. A float valve opened to blow the whistle if the water in the boiler got too high or too low. The largest room is the main pump room. This room was built in 1921 and is the heart of the waterworks operation. See the oldest pump. This number 1 low surface pump and the similar one next to it brought in the raw water. This steam pumping engine is the oldest one here. It was installed in 1898. Take in all the sights and sounds at this unusual infrastructure museum. When you have such big machinery, you need big tools. Pass on into the next room to see more equipment and gear from the operations and from the office, like this adding machine, a rotary phone. We then passed into the old high service pump room. High service pumps were used to send the clean water out to the city. Next is the filter room. This room houses the indoor filter tanks. The first ones were installed in 1890 and the last ones in 1924. Fewer than 10% of the nation's waterworks were filtered water by 1890. And the process? It was begun here. Filtering of the water was done after it had first passed through the settling basins. Filters used layers of gravel, sand, and carbon, much as is still done today. Step outside and see the settling basins. These large open tanks called settling basins are the first stop for raw water. The basins were part of the first 1887 plant, but were originally brick laid over clay. They were remodeled in 1926. One of my favorite stops was inside the laboratory of the elevated tank. This is stop 8. The octagonal building was constructed in 1911 to house a water quality laboratory and chlorination equipment. The lab sits on top of an underground water tank called a clear well. This tank stored the purified water that came from the filters that was then disinfected with chlorine. The elevated tank above the lab building held the water used to periodically clean the filters in a backwashing process. This room was really really intriguing. Look at all this old equipment. In 1901, an underground tank called a clear well was added to store the clean water before it was pumped out to the city. The tank had an open top with a roof over it. The clear well is still there, but in 1911, the roof was replaced with a concrete cap that became the floor of the new laboratory building. That's where we just were. As we walked around outside, we saw this old sign on the top of the building, Waterworks, City of Shreveport. I highly recommend you pull off I-20 when traveling through Shreveport and Bossier City. Take an hour or two and visit this historic site. And tell me in the comments below how many you found in this video. Be sure to operate the steam whistle before you leave. Flip-flops on the ground. Unclassic road trip. If you like this video, you'll want to check out my museums playlist. Tell a friend about my channel and please subscribe. Thank you.